you read.
Well, it's in there. It's in your local rules.
I was just making sure he could still measure and time.
We're live?
Yeah, we're live.
All right, I've got 5 p.m. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Got a good crowd tonight. Please join me in the invocation and the pledge. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this time we can bow our heads and come before you. We just ask you to be present with us in this meeting. Give us wisdom and knowledge to do our county's business. We thank you for the option for us to serve and just help us to guide us in each and everything we do here. Thank you for our first responders. Thank you for our military, those who keep us safe at home and abroad. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thanks again for coming out tonight. There are several opportunities for you to participate with us. We have a citizens to be heard at the beginning, another at the end. You can speak on either of those at your option. And you can also speak on each individual agenda item. Just fill out a speaker card with Miss Jessica here for each item. And when you come up, give us your name and address so the folks at home can hear you as well. To approve the agenda? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second.
Mr. Chairman, there are a couple modifications to the agenda that we proposed. The first is to move tab 9 to the planning and zoning section. That's a quasi-judicial hearing. It's a Board of Adjustment appeal. And tab 11 is going to be tabled until the next meeting.
I'll file my motion. And the second as well. Any other changes? Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. So any citizens to be heard for the first? That'll lead us to awards and presentation. We're going to start out with Mr. Michael Register, if you will, come forward. Chief LaMarche, any of your team that you want to bring forward as well. I have a few things to say, but if you'd like to speak as well, please.
For the kids, please.
Okay. Oh, very good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Michael Register. The county would like to present a plaque to paramedic Michael Register on the occasion of his retirement in recognition of 26 years of service to the citizens of Wakulla County. Mike joined Wakulla EMS in 1995 and has spent the entirety of his career providing exceptional patient care. His command staff has received many calls and letters over the years from grateful citizens who were comforted by his calm and professional bedside manner. Mike remained with Wakulla County through the merger of the EMS and fire departments in 2010 and the first paramedic to retire from the combined service now known as Wakulla County Fire Rescue. On behalf of the citizens of Wakulla County, we thank you for your service, sir. Yeah, I'll present this. You guys all want to join me?
Sure, Randy does, for sure. Got to work
Were you here before Randy?
What?
Before Randy?
Yeah.
Randy?
Oh, no. I was here in 93, I think, at the engineer over at Public Works.
Yeah, so you were, I think we went to school together.
Not 86?
I graduated in 88.
Okay, so you're a young buck.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your service. That's the longest
Don't stand next to me. I don't want you to.
You know, you touched a lot of lives.
You stand next to me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Wow.
Randy, you should jump up there. There you go.
That was a great idea. I'm going to do that from now on. Go ahead and stand up.
Next is paramedic Kyle Phillips will come forward.
He is actually doing his paramedic stuff.
We appreciate him for that. We want to just bring him back to the next meeting.
It's up to you.
What we were recognizing was just that he just finished paramedic school. We actually had a few guys just pass their test, and he actually scored the highest in his class, which is quite an accomplishment. So I just wanted to give him some credit for that.
Nice. Very good.
Congratulations.
Bring him back.
Say again?
I said Mutt did in his class as well, but
Okay. You want to go ahead? Here, I'm gonna read this if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
The county would like to present this certificate to paramedic Kyle Phillips in recognition of his outstanding academic achievements in earning top of class in Chipola College's paramedic studies program in summer 2021. Wakulla County Fire Rescue was fortunate to have 4 of its firefighter EMTs accepted into the paramedicine program and earned their paramedic certification this year. Paramedic is the highest level of pre-hospital care and requires vigorous advanced training. We thank Kyle for his dedication to his profession and to the citizens of Wakulla County. Please give him our thanks and appreciation. All right, so now we will go to Mr. Greg James.
This is going to be exciting.
We're going to see who gets the last word in.
Actually, this is all about Greg James tonight. I'm standing up here speaking, but I would like to recognize Greg in his office. As you guys know, I took over about 9 months ago, and there have been a lot of changes happening in the property appraiser's office, one of which is how we keep our books and how we pay our payroll. When I came on board, we had a CPA. The total cost of this CPA was right at $36,000 a year, a little bit less, but right at $36,000 a year, which is a pretty expensive proposition. I was talking to Greg about how we could do the job, and Greg came back to me, and I actually went out to other CPAs, was trying to find out the least expensive way to do it, and Greg came back and said, hey, I can help you out on that, and I'm like, well, what's the cost going to be? And the cost turned out to be $0. His folks, I see Steve over there, they've picked up the job. They've actually taken it over as of the 1st of October of this year. They're going to, so Greg and his folks are saving us a lot of money. Not only are they saving us a lot of money, but as much as I'd like to say that we were doing everything perfect, they are finding things that we were doing incorrectly, and so the whole process of continuous improvement continues, and Greg and his folks are a big part of that, and I'd like to say thanks to Greg.
Kelly's really helping out with that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kelly, you're sitting right there. Now, she's really the one that sends me the emails and says you're doing that wrong.
And what we hope to come out of this is more efficiency. We're able to report to Commissioner or to Mr. Brunner, former commissioner, what's going on, and provide better reporting to him, more efficient reporting, and closing out of the books as well. From the auditing side, will be much more efficient as well. So I was joking with him, I wouldn't be a very good businessman because we're not making any money off of this. I'm having our employees work more. They weren't exactly thrilled about that, but they love what they do, and we're doing it well, hopefully. So we're glad to be able to bring it in-house, and hopefully he'll have better efficiencies as a result of it.
Excellent.
Right, to do. Hey, saving the taxpayers' money is just like making money.
Saving $36,000, that's right. Randy would want me to be thorough, and so while I have the mic, I would like to also announce that for everyone out there in Facebook land and was listening, we got a notice today from the Department of State for passports. The routine processing of a passport is now taking 8 to 11 weeks. Expedited processing, which costs $60 more, is taking 5 to 7 weeks. So if you plan on traveling and don't have your passport, that's the time frame. You need to be well out in front of that time period. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Ed Greg will find money, don't worry.
Thank you both. All right.
Wait till the end of the year.
Join the military, you don't need a passport with that.
That ends our awards and presentation. Do we have a motion to approve the consent as modified? Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We'll go to general business, item number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request for the board's consideration of the draft 2021 adopted infrastructure plan. Back in 2012, the board adopted the first infrastructure plan for the county, designed to capture all infrastructure projects needed going forward and to help support grant funding of these potential projects. As we've done in previous years, roughly about every 4 years, we have been annually updating the plan, outlining accomplishments that have been made over the past 4 years, removing projects that are no longer valid or that have been complete, and adding new projects as the need grows for the county. So we present this to you tonight for any questions, comments, recommendations, feedback, and with that, we'll bring it back to you guys with any modifications that you have at a future meeting for final adoption.
Just need a motion to approve, to consider, I don't know what kind of motion that is, but... Motion to approve,
nice.
to consider.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any citizens? Discussion from the board.
Does that mean we are adopting?
I gave Dave a hard time next meeting.
Well, if you read the agenda item, it says, request for consideration of the draft 2021 adopted infrastructure.
Over my comment.
Thank you.
Very good. Further discussion.
I would like to see more coastal access put into our plans. So I think,
I think everybody can agree with that.
Had that conversation.
There's some stuff in the appendix back there that deals with acquiring private property for more ocean access.
That is correct. That is
It's in the
correct.
appendix, so.
I just wanted to make sure it's thrown out.
Further discussion.
Good job, Summer.
Yep.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
I thank Summer and her team, Lauren Cruz, she worked really hard on this, and so did Summer.
I wasn't a huge fan of this when we first did it, but I'll stand corrected.
It's been a great tool.
Been on the board so many years in the government, if it's not in a plan, it doesn't exist. So
No eyeballs on it? Yep. All right, that ends our general business. We'll go into public hearing, item number 12.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 12 is a request board approval to conduct a public hearing and adopt an ordinance which will repeal Ordinance 2040 and amend Ordinance 2003-10. This will create a new chapter relating to the additional homestead exemption of $50,000 for homeowners with title to real estate, which is their permanent residence, and they are 65 years or older and whose household income as adjusted does not exceed certain low-income thresholds that are set forth in Florida statute.
approve.
I have a second. Motion and a second. Any citizens? Discussion from the board.
This is a good thing.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Public hearing, item number 13.
This is a request board approval to conduct a public hearing and approve a purchase and sale contract that will transfer 4.82 acres of county property that has been declared surplus previously, that is located near the intersection of U.S. Highway 319 and Wooden Lake Road.
Motion to approve, and
We have 3 offers. We need to select one of the offers.
more is offered. It's the highest offer.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second. We have one citizen, Mr. Jerry Moore.
I'll pass right now.
Here for questions if needed. Thank you, sir. He passes. No other citizens. Discussion from the board.
So this is the highest offer, and there's no contingencies. It's just,
And this is above the appraised value. Don't tell Jerry that, but
okay.
And there's no contingencies on any of the offers.
yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is.
Robert Parrish has had a contingency of a traffic light being installed first.
Okay, I got you. But there's no commitment to what's going there, I guess.
Right.
Yep. Very good.
Can't commit to that.
Right. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes 5-0. All right, that,
Could I say just one word?
if you'll come up to the microphone, sir, and you've already filled out a speaker card, so you're good.
I know
I'm Jerry Moore with Bottoms Road. I know there's some conversation about Tallahassee Memorial coming down. I would like to tell the people that there's probably 3 and possibly 4 medical centers that are looking at Wakulla County. And all 3 of them are very active, and maybe the 4th, but shortly it'll take a year or so to get through the county. But you will have quite a few medical centers.
Is anybody talking about an emergency room, Jerry?
I can't tell you exactly what they're talking about, but I know there's 3 for sure that's going to be building 15 to 20,000 feet. So you'll have a lot of services available. And thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back, Jerry.
All right, that ends our public hearings. We'll go to planning and zoning. Item 9 was pulled off of consent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an appeal to the Board of County Commissioners sitting as the Board of Adjustment to appeal a decision that was made by the Planning Director, the administrative decision. This is appeal number 2101. In accordance with Section 24.01 of the Code, each commissioner needs to disclose any contact you may receive from any interested parties regarding this application.
I got several emails, and I talked to you about it.
Yes, and just for the record, all of the emails have been printed. The clerk has a copy, and then Ms. Welch has a copy for the appellant in the event he wants to review them in advance.
Sue Damon hit me up in the parking lot, but we really didn't talk about it.
No, we didn't.
Several emails, and I talked to Miss Sue Damon, and I talked to Tori from Shell Point.
3 emails that I forwarded to you. I spoke to Dallas Marshall's the only person I've spoken with. He didn't take a position one way or the other.
I forwarded you all the emails, and I spoke with Dallas Marshall.
You have my emails, and I spoke with Dave Damon and Sue Damon. Dave didn't give a opposition or anything. He just was asking questions, and Sue was opposed. Thank you.
As I said, all of those materials are moved into the record, as is the staff report. If there's anyone here who is going to provide any information on this application, including the applicant, please stand up to be sworn.
This includes citizens?
Anyone that's filled out a speaker card, if you're going to speak on this item, please stand up.
Please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we allow the appellant to come up and present his case, and then turn it over to staff to present their case, and then take citizen comment.
Very good. Let's see here. Mr. Danny Phillips, if you would please come forward, and you have 15 minutes, sir.
We'll take 5.
All right. Danny Phillips. I currently live at 240 DeSoto Street in Tallahassee, Florida. Grew up in Tallahassee and spent my time between Tallahassee and Shell Point. And as I'm sure y'all seen in the documents, I own a lot in Shell Point, which I applied for a permit to use my travel trailer there. Unfortunately, building costs are a little bit high right now, and I'd like to be able to build down there at some point. But until then, until building costs get a little bit more reasonable, I'd like my kids to be able to grow up with what I grew up with. So back in November of 2020, I requested a copy of the PUD for my lot from Planning and Zoning. I was provided with a document that's attached to my appeal. Staff has it attached as attachment 10, page 2. And in that document, there are no restrictions provided other than the setbacks and a designation that the property needs to be used for residential purposes. And so I would move that into the record if it's not already in the record. Based on that, I applied for a permit to get utilities connected for a travel trailer. That permit was denied, and that was based off the staff's assertion that a travel trailer would violate the PUD. And in support of this, the staff has filed a response, and they provide a different document which they assert is the PUD for the neighborhood. The staff has designated this, I believe as attachment 4. So the problem I've had, and I really think this is something, and I'm not putting anything on staff, but I really think this could have gotten resolved before. I've requested documents trying to figure out what is the actual PUD for this neighborhood. It's my understanding that for a PUD to be approved, it must first go through a planning commission, and then through the county commission, and then pursuant to the Wakulla County Code, the commission would enter an order making it clear that these are the specific restrictions that the county commission has adopted. And so far, I've requested, but I haven't received any documents indicating that what the staff asserts attachment 4 is the PUD for the neighborhood is actually the PUD for the neighborhood. The staff's agenda request indicates that the Board of County Commissioners in November of 1996 approved what they assert is the PUD for the neighborhood. But when I requested and was provided with the meeting minutes from back then, it did in fact indicate that there was a rezoning that happened, but there was nothing in those minutes that indicated that the PUD that the staff is proffering is the actual PUD for the neighborhood. And when we look at attachment 4 that the staff is proffering as the PUD for the neighborhood, there's nothing in there that really, it mentions the word restrictions, but there's nothing in there that really indicates that it's a PUD. In fact, it doesn't even mention the words planned unit development or PUD. So at least in my estimation, the issue comes down to what is the actual PUD for this neighborhood. And it's my opinion that if the staff can demonstrate that the document it purports to be the PUD is actually the PUD for the neighborhood, then I would agree that my proposed use is prohibited. But if the document that I was given by planning and zoning, and again, that's attachment 10, page 2, if those are the only restrictions on the subject lot, then it would be my contention under applicable case law that the proposed use of a travel trailer is not prohibited and therefore should be permitted. Thank you.
Question? Heather, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you're taking the position that attachment 10, page 2, you're saying that's the PUD?
That's what I was provided by planning and zoning when I requested.
From Ed Mills to file saying here's the setbacks.
Correct.
But that doesn't say any, a PUD document was a zoning.
I hear you on that, but I would assert that this is the only document in the competing, what is the PUD, this is the only document that even mentions PUD.
This is laughable if this is a PUD application, obviously. This is the file, this is staff saying here's what the setbacks are. Part of the PUD itself. I say that because I've done a PUD myself in a subdivision.
When I received that document from planning and zoning, and I don't know if hearsay is admissible, but I was told this is the most laughable PUD that we've seen, and she actually showed me a 3-ring binder of what PUDs look like now and all the studies that go along with them.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I ask a question.
Please.
So you keep referring to 1996, and do I ask you the question, Heather?
What's your question?
Okay, you'll direct me to the appropriate person. So do the changes that were in 2004 have anything to do with what Mr. Phillips is referring to from 1996?
I'm not sure what changes in 2004 you're referring to. This PUD was approved in 1996, and my understanding at the time, when they did a rezoning to PUD, they would also adopt the restrictions that would apply within that PUD.
Okay, so then in 2004, they even became more restrictive. Is that, can I ask you that?
I think she might be referring to the covenants of 2004.
Oh, you're talking about the subdivision covenants? Those are the private covenants and restrictions? That would have been something that the neighborhood put on themselves.
Which has nothing to do with the PUD.
Sir, did you have something to add? If you will speak.
Okay, good.
If you'll speak in the microphone and introduce yourself.
My name is Scott Shirley, and I'm staff counsel for purposes of this presentation. The original PUD was approved in 1996, but the plat that actually created the subdivision within the PUD was not created, approved, and recorded until 2004.
Thank you.
And then as part of that process, the protective covenants were also created and recorded.
Thank you.
Is this the piece that Bob Danzy bought years ago? I remember it was on PUD, and then he went, that's not it?
So that's why there's this gap between the PUD and the subdivision.
Randy tries to pretend like I got it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Staff had to explain that to me.
That's okay. I do a lot of homework.
Mr. Phillips, I do have another question, if you don't mind coming back up. So, from what I understand, you would agree that if attachment 4 was in fact the PUD, you understand that your application does not have basis to be approved. So this sounds like this comes down to me whether attachment 4 or attachment 10, page 2 is the proper document. Do you agree or disagree that the PUD was established in 1996?
I have not received any competent evidence indicating that that's the PUD. I mean, I have the assertions from the staff and their response, but I don't have anything indicating that that's the actual PUD.
Okay, but according to your file, 1996 is when the PUD was established.
That's correct, by ordinance 96-7.
96 would indicate the year, so unless there's something that conflicts with that, I think we can conclude that attachment 10, page 2, that was drafted in November of 2000, 4 years later, could not possibly be the PUD, especially when it specifically says note to file. It doesn't say this is a PUD, it says this is a note to the file, and so it just simply added to her document. Staff asserts, and I don't think any of us were here then, that attachment 4 was in fact the PUD. It certainly looks more like a PUD, even though it's much smaller than what we may see today. It specifically addresses the restrictions, and so I don't think we have any reason to doubt that at this point.
The memo to file setbacks match the PUD document setbacks.
Yes, sir.
Well, can I just ask, because this is the first time I've been cited to this 96-7 ordinance, do we have a copy of that ordinance? Does it specifically say that it's adopting this PUD?
I do not have a paper copy on hand, but I do have it pulled up here, saved on my computer, which does reference the file number related to this rezoning request and does specifically indicate that the property is being rezoned from R3 and RTH to PUD. And this, again, was approved by the board in June of 1996.
And is that document also available on Unicode, part of public record?
This is not available on Unicode, as this is just a zoning ordinance, but that was obtained through the clerk's office.
So it is public record?
It is, yes, sir.
Thank you. Any further questions or any further comments, Mr. Phillips?
No, I would just like to reserve the right to ask questions of the staff if they're, after they put on their presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this point, we will call staff and give you 15 minutes. Summer, are you taking that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, I'm Summer Powell, the Wakulla County Planning and Community Development Director. I have been employed by Wakulla County in the Planning Department for just over 16 years and have served as the Director for 6. My resume has been entered into the record. Just to provide the board with a brief history of the Lakes at Shell Point and the associated PUD, this zoning change to PUD again was approved in 1996. At that time, the preliminary plat for the subdivision was also approved. Within the PUD and the applications for both the PUD and preliminary plat, it does refer to this as being a 34-lot residential subdivision. Throughout the PUD, it does repeatedly state the use is intended to be residential and that the subdivision will be developed consistent and similar to other surrounding developments, which are multifamily, Victorian, and coastal style architecture with a minimum square footage of 1,000 square feet. Later, the final plat was approved by the board and recorded in the public record in 2004. By evidence of the application for the final plat approval, as well as the staff report at that time, the intent of the subdivision was to be developed as single-family residential. Also in September of 2004, the restricted covenants for the subdivision were recorded, and a couple of highlights that I'd like to point out to demonstrate the developer's intent of the subdivision as being residential includes a definition of living unit, which is a building intended for occupancy as a residence. An architectural control committee was established to issue approvals that are not detrimental to the appearance of the development as a whole, and that the appearance of any structure would be in harmony with surrounding structures. Also, it does prohibit the use of any commercial or recreational vehicle of any type or temporary structures, including specifically trailers and tents, at any time to be used as a residence, either temporary or permanently. Mr. Phillips did submit a request on the Citizen Serve portal for a development permit on August 31st of this year, specifically requesting a utility hookup for a travel trailer, and I did deny that for the reason that the request was inconsistent with the approved PUD and allowable uses for the Lakes Shell Point development. I would point out that the Land Development Code defines a dwelling in part as any building or portion thereof used for residential purposes, but specifically excludes travel trailers and coaches as an allowable use. And recreational vehicles are also defined by the code as travel trailers, pickup coaches, and camping trailers. Again, staff has denied this development permit based on the evidence in the county records regarding the original PUD development standards, the commitments included in the file as this is to be a residential development with specific architectural standards, and the plain language of the county's land development code regarding residential uses versus campers for commercial purposes. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Please, go ahead.
Summer, irregardless of all this PUD crap, could you put a camper on a vacant lot, say in Wakulla Gardens,
No, sir. Does that
or in Smith Creek?
No, sir.
Could you put one on any piece of vacant land that's not travel trailer?
The only land in the county that permits the use of travel trailers is in the CTTP, Commercial Travel Trailer Zoning District.
PUD, it's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. It's a vacant lot, you can't put a travel trailer. Motion to uphold staff determination?
Second.
Okay, let's, before we go to a vote, we're going to go next to public comment, then we're going to allow the applicant to come back and have an opportunity for rebuttal, and then staff final comments, and then we will deliberate and vote. So at this point, if staff or citizens would like to speak, we'll start out with Mr. Michael Caniglio.
Good evening. My name is Michael Caniglio. I live on 92 Oyster Drive. I'm also the president of the Shell Point Harbor Property Owners Association. While this came to our attention very late yesterday, quite frankly, we did not have a chance to poll our members as to their position on this. I'm not taking an official position as to that, except that I will tell you there was a previous attempt at a recreational vehicle situation down in our area where something like 85% of the people on our street all were opposed to it, so I assume that they would be opposed in this situation. Also, I know the board is aware of this, and certainly the owner is aware of it, and that is when it gets the deed, it says subject to the covenants and restrictions and plat on record, and it's obviously on record. And when we purchased it, he knew it was on record, and we do not want to see this start to become the camel's nose under the tent, because on Oyster Drive, when we have the Stephen C. Smith Regatta, occasionally somebody will bring in a very nice motorhome and park on their lot for a weekend. Well, if this came in, we could now start opening that up and having requests on that as well. And we have on record, and we are also a PUD, so we would encourage the commission to deny the request.
Thank you, sir. Kingsley Ross.
My name is Kingsley Ross. I live on Harbor Point Drive. In the Iron Club, we're also opposed to this, my wife and myself. We own an RV. I can tell you that they're not well built compared to other kinds of vehicles. They certainly wouldn't want to go to sea in one. They're not comparable to a boat in terms of the construction. They're very lightweight. I'm not talking about the truck itself, but I'm talking about the vehicle. It's subject to deterioration. It will, if it's driven in, I promise you, it'll be towed out for any period of time. I own one. I'm not the original owner, but the original owner let it sit. It has a new engine now. The caliper's seized, and it has new brakes now, rear calipers. I would suggest, apart from the legal issues here, that this is a bad precedent and should not be allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Sue Damon.
Change my mind, Sue.
I said I liked you, now don't blow that. Okay, Sue Damon, Shell Point. I did have some notes, but, basically, I think that we should put faith in Summer. You all have hired her to do her job, and as the director of our planning department, she has looked into all of this, and she's decided, well, this is not a good fit, it's not a good use. And when Mr. Phillips purchased the property in 2018, I believe it was, he should have then done his research to see that there were the covenants in place and so forth and so on. It is residential. It does say it should be 1,000 square feet. It should be up in the air. It's got the setbacks, and it should blend in with the rest of the neighborhood and our neighbors. So that's it. I think I don't have much to say because I have all the faith in you guys and in Summer.
Ralph, let me ask Summer one more.
Very much.
Irregardless of any of this deed restriction stuff, can you put a camper on a vacant lot anywhere in Wakulla?
Only if it's zoned CTTP.
So the only issue here is this property zone CTTP.
No, it is not.
Deed restrictions mean nothing. They're nice, but just want to share.
It leaves to the developer's intent for the development of the subdivision, which is why I pointed those things out for you.
They couldn't have put in the deed restrictions that you're allowed to have a camper, because it's not allowed by code.
Does not,
Right?
it's not consistent with the zoning.
Sure, everybody understands that.
Very good. Next, Mama She. Welcome, Mama She.
I'm Sheila Gill. I live on Royster Drive. Some people know me as Mama She. We have lived here for 5 years. And personally, I would not like to have a camper parked next to me every day of the week, 365 days a year, because I think that it is, number one, going to bring down property values. I think about how, and if they have boats, how they're going to trailer them and how they're going to put them in the water. We don't have facilities for that. I just don't like the idea of it being something other than residence. Up in the air, we're all up there nose bleeding. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Tori Willinger.
I'm going to echo what everybody else is saying. The only difference is that I actually live about 200 yards from where Mr. Phillips is planning on putting a trailer, so I'm especially not happy about it. So I'd really like it if you guys voted against it.
Thank you very much. Lynette.
You want us to vote for the staff decision, not against it?
No, yes, for it.
Lynette Ramsey.
Hi, Lynette Ramsey, 47 Pebble Court in Shell Point. I'm totally against this for so many reasons. We have multi-million-dollar homes going in at Shell Point right now. We're just now recovering with the market and from Dennis. We still pull trash out of the canals when we clean. We're working very hard to build the integrity of Shell Point and make it something to be proud of and not just a fishing community to speak of. I think a trailer park, which is, if you approve him, you've got 34 lots in there that could also decide they want to put RVs in there, which sets a precedent for Mr. Deese, who wants to put the trailer park at the corner of Cornegay and Shell Point Road. I just think this is a bad idea all the way around. We have to be 21 feet off the ground. I think any residence down there needs to be 21 feet off the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vern Paler, or Palin? Paler.
Hi, I'm Vern Paler, 8 Southside Drive. Thanks for this opportunity. As it was brought up before, we think this might set a precedent, and we have a lot of faith in the planning. Our house was just built 3 years ago, and as our house was being built, we became very familiar with the planning and their inspectors and everything. So we have a lot of faith in the rules that they've set down here. I stayed home during Michael and got 5 feet of water under our house. The 85-mile-an-hour winds came through it, no damage at all. So we have faith in the Planning Commission and all the rules that are set down here. And when they say no RVs, they don't belong down here. The streets over there in Snug Harbor, they're not made for RV traffic. The lots over there, they're not made to park RVs on. They're made for the houses up in the air. So have faith in the Planning Committee. We don't need RVs there.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bill Wilhelm.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Bill Wilhelm. I live at 36 Pebble Court. We own a lot in the lakes. We also own property immediately contiguous to the applicant here, and we were not notified, and I don't know why, and that's another issue. Obviously, it doesn't make any difference at this point. We learned about this by word of email. It used to be word of mouth. It was a word of email yesterday or day before, and obviously we're not in favor of it for all the reasons stated. We appreciate your time and attention. I'm not going to take up your patience any longer.
Thank you, sir. Susie Wilhelm.
Hi, I'm Susie Wilhelm, also owner of Shell Point Realty. We own the property contiguous to Mr. Phillips' lot. As Mr. Wilhelm said, we were not notified of this. This is not a matter of misunderstanding of Mr. Phillips with the staff in the county and the PUD. He himself petitioned owners to change the covenants and restrictions to lower the size of the square footage to 1,100 square feet. He was well aware of the covenants and restrictions in place when he purchased the property, as we had the listing and he bought it from us. We've sold many lots in there. Over a third of the owners paid over $130,000 for their lots. Some paid up to $200,000. This was made as a community where people could, as some of our friends, they're off sailing on their boat right now. They plan on coming back when they retire. We have 2 couples that are sailing internationally. They plan on coming back to the lakes and building their retirement home and retiring there. What are they going to do when, first of all, they haven't even heard about this, and they come back and the neighborhood is totally ruined? Property values will go down. It's just a little out of control right now. The whole neighborhood was initially called the Sanctuary. You probably have record of that, Ms. Summer. And it was intended to be a very quiet, peaceful, residential neighborhood bordering on the St. Mark's Preserve. A different part of Shell Point wasn't waterfront lots. Those waterfront lots are ponds and retention ponds that we own, Bill and I. We pay taxes on them just to keep the peace in the area and keep it as a sanctuary. We also own a separate lot. This would damage our community, and I do hope that you reconsider any possibility of allowing this to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our last speaker is Mr. Merle Moore.
My issue is with this county, with the county growing, we have no truck stops.
And let me, if you don't mind, so you're not speaking on behalf of the Shell Point issue. How about I bring you back to citizens to be heard? Thank you, sir. That ends our citizens at this time. We will give the applicant 10 minutes, sir, that you could ask any questions or do any rebuttal. We're feeling some momentum going on here. I just have a couple questions for staff. Now, you stated earlier that the PUD designation wouldn't have anything to do with whether or not the travel trailer would be allowed. Is that accurate?
If the PUD specifically allowed for use of travel trailers within its development standards, then that would be a permitted use within the PUD.
Okay. So the PUD could affect whether or not a travel trailer would be allowed?
If it was listed as a specific principal use, then it would be a principal use.
All right, and it sounds like your assertion is that if it's not listed as a principal use, then it would not be allowed, correct? Even if it wasn't excluded, correct?
That's correct.
All right. On getting a PUD approved, does it first go to a planning commission meeting?
Under our current code provisions, it would go before a planning commission hearing before it would go to the board for approval.
Okay. And then it's my understanding that the board would enter a separate order approving the PUD. Is that correct?
The board does approve the ordinance establishing the PUD if a PUD is approved by board.
Okay. And I think you've already stated this, but it's the staff's position or your position that attachment 4 is in fact the PUD for the Lakes at Shell Point, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you show me or the board any meeting minutes from the Planning Commission approving attachment 4?
I do not have the planning commission meeting minutes in the building with me tonight.
Okay. Can you show us any meeting minutes from the County Commission meeting approving attachment 4?
It is not common that any PUD documents are attached to any sets of minutes from the board or the planning commission at any point in time that I have ever seen or that I am aware of.
Okay. Can you show us any separate order from the County Commission approving the PUD that y'all proffer attachment 4 as the...
I do not have those documents.
Okay. All right, now, and I've just got a couple more questions. The staff's agenda report asserts that the PUD for the Lakes at Shell Point was approved in June of 1996. Is that your assertion?
Yes.
All right. Is there anything in those meeting minutes which you're familiar with indicating that the attachment 4 was passed at that meeting?
Nothing attached to the meeting minutes as I previously stated.
Okay. Do you have any documentation reflecting that attachment 4 is in fact the adopted PUD for the Lakes at Shell Point?
As a matter of fact, I do. I have a letter from the original developer dated May 9th of 1996 in response to some concerns from adjoining property owners at the time that the PUD was applied for, or the rezoning and preliminary plat rather, were applied for. The commitments of the developer in that May 1996 letter are almost verbatim the same as the attachment in number 4, committing to these specific development standards.
Okay, but so how does that show that attachment 4 is the adopted?
The letter refers to a commitment to develop a PUD and including these specific standards outlined in the letter, and those are the same standards outlined in attachment 4 of the agenda item.
All right. Do you know who created this attachment 4?
It appears that the developer created that.
I'm not asking you to speculate. I'm asking you, do you know who created it?
Worked for the department in 1996.
All right. Do you know when it was created?
It appears that it was created in 1996, prior to the board's approval of the PUD.
Based on the document itself or circumstantial evidence?
Based on the evidence in the file, that's what it appears to be.
All right. And other than what you've already gone through and other than what somebody may have told you, do you have any other evidence that attachment 4 is in fact the PUD for the Lakes at Shell Point?
All of the evidence that I have is contained in the files of the planning department.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, sir. Can I circle back to somewhere on that again? Please do. I think what he's alluding to is if a PUD is a planned unit development, so it can include commercial and residential. Right, this was done as a PUD residential, I'm sorry.
As a residential PUD, yes, sir.
Someone could theoretically put CCTP as an underlying zoning in a PUD on a piece of property.
That could,
Theoretically.
in theory, a developer could develop a PUD that way.
They certainly didn't say anywhere in the PUD document, we're saying is correct, that we do want to allow travel trailers, right?
There is nothing that indicates that use.
That not being there, to me, indicates clearly they didn't want them there, or that was not the purpose of this, was not to allow commercial travel trailer park.
I would agree with that.
Clear on that. Okay.
I agree.
Very good. At this time, we will give staff 10 minutes for final comments if needed.
here again. I'm not going to take up much of your time. I do a lot of work in Jefferson County. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but I've been their land use attorney for the past 24 years. And every now and then you have a situation where the documentation is not quite what you want it to be, but the record is clear of what the intent is. And where you have a developer, well, you have neighbors that raise concerns here by a memorandum dated May 6 of 1996. Based on a meeting between the developer and the neighbors, the developer came out with a May 1996 letter under the title Redneck Development, which was the developer, under the signature of Libby Staff or Leone, that references in paragraph 5 architectural control and Victorian-style homes. Developer agreed to keep the architectural style of the new homes in the proposed development in keeping with the current Victorian-style homes in Snug Harbor. Development agrees to create a homeowners association documents, covenants, and restrictions similar to the current Snug Harbor homeowners association documents and restrictive covenants. As a result of that representation, this project was approved. I think you are aware that if those neighbors' concerns had not been placated, they would have been down here opposing that project in the same manner that these individuals came down here tonight to oppose this use. So we litigated, and then as a result of that, a document called Development Restrictions for Lakes at Shell Point and Development Standards was created. This document, it wasn't created later. I mean, the reason it's in the files is that it was created contemporaneously with the development approval. That is the only reason that document exists. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense for it to exist. So, all this bit about was it technically adopted, and marked with a B and all that, those development standards resulted in this development getting approved. That's how the process worked. Clearly, that's how the process works. You're involved in this kind of thing all the time. We had an issue in Jefferson County where a developer made a representation several times during the process that a particular subdivision, which I won't name, would have site-built homes in it. Some years afterwards, and after several site-built homes were already constructed, the developer decided to allow someone to site a modular home in the subdivision. At my advice, the building department denied the permit for that home. That was appealed to the Jefferson County Planning Commission as an appellate board. It was sustained, the denial was sustained. We litigated it in circuit court and we prevailed. So these representations by the developer, which grease the wheels of the process and make the approval happen, are binding. So, thank you very much.
Again,
Thank you, sir.
no, with all due respect, everything you just said is irrelevant to me. Unless somebody can produce a PUD document that says we want to allow commercial travel trailer parks, then they're not allowed. And certainly no one has produced that, right?
Correct.
So unless the PUD, somebody produces one that says this was intended to be a commercial travel trailer park, you're not allowed to put campers there, travel trailers, right?
Agreed.
So cut and dry. My motion stands.
Does that wrap up staff time?
I have nothing further.
Okay, at this point, deliberations.
Just to be clear, the motion that's on the table is to uphold the director's denial.
Correct.
Can we have a second?
Yes.
Further discussion?
I agree with Randy. This is cut and dried.
Thank you, Joe.
This is, it's not allowed anywhere unless it's in the RV park. So,
Very good. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you all. That ends our planning and zoning items. We'll go to commissioner agenda items. Number 19, Commissioner Merritt.
I drafted this myself with Summer drafting it for me, and this came up because somebody was building a house in Grinders. It's budgeted to get sewer. Apparently, the health department didn't require these resolutions to be adopted in the past, but apparently now they are. So I'm bringing this resolution forward per our policy to say if it's budgeted, which it is, then they don't have to put a performance-based septic tank in. They can put a regular ring because they're going to abandon it anyway. So my motion is to approve the resolution. Right, Summer?
Do we have a second?
Thank you, Randy.
My question was on this right here, is that sewer's gonna be here within probably a year. We've already had the funding for this, correct?
We have the funding for it, and it'll be at least a year, 2 years. Yeah.
But definitely within 5.
Okay, so I'll second Randy's motion for it.
Okay, do we have any citizens on this? Conversation, discussion on this?
Yeah, I have a problem with it, and it's not about the switch. My problem is that if you look at our infrastructure plan, we're going to bill $72 million for building sewage infrastructure in our county. And I don't see that we're not being responsible with taxpayer dollars if we're giving this developer $4,000 in 2 years when we pay his access fee to get on our sewer system.
All we're saying is he doesn't have to put a performance-based system.
Yeah, but that means that when it comes in to put his system in, we're going to destroy it and pay his access fee to get on our sewer system.
What difference would it make if it was a regular septic tank or a performance-based?
Wouldn't.
Okay. I don't understand what you're...
Yeah, I'm not giving...
I don't want to encourage people to put houses in there
I
at that
got you.
time.
Now I understand what you're saying.
And this is basically encouraging him to go ahead and build his house. Why don't you wait a year and then build the house?
I understand it. I don't agree with it, but at least I know.
I just think it's more responsible for us to encourage them not. We've got lots of development going on. There's lots of places to build right now in the county. If you want to build a house right now, go ahead. Okay, but there's lots of opportunities for that. What we need to do is make sure we do it the most economically feasible for us in the future as we try to get all these houses onto sewer.
Who's paying for the septic tank?
The developer will be paying for
The person buying the house.
Will be paying.
Yeah, that's what I would say, the person buying the houses. So my thing is this right here, I understand completely where Chuck's at, but we're talking about sewer's gonna be there within a year or two, so why not, if sewer was not going in there, I don't even think we'd be talking about this, so I stand by my motion. So
I just think that, we're wasting, we're only going to get so much money to pay that $70 million bill. And so every dollar is going to be important as we continue down that process.
I understand your objection is related to this issue. I wouldn't say it's not a major component of it. I understand what you're saying. Let's leave the lot vacant till sewer's there, then we can collect the access fee when somebody does build on it. Right. I understand what you're saying, but I just, I'm fine with them building on that lot, and they gotta spend the money for septic tanks.
Yeah, but then we have to spend the money to put that to pay.
We're just gonna waive their access fee.
They can't waive the access fee. We still have to pay the access fee.
Again, just tangentially related. I understand what you're saying.
Further discussion?
Learned it last.
Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Aye. Passes 4-1. That ends our commissioner agenda items. County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one brief item. I received a copy of the order from the Florida Commission on Ethics finding probable cause against Brad Harvey relating to this board's prior complaint. Based on the board's complaint, the commission found there was probable cause to believe that the former property appraiser violated state ethics rules when he paid himself excess salary, misused the office credit card, and filed inaccurate financial reporting. So this is just a probable cause determination. They found it was more likely than not that occurred, and it will now go to a formal hearing.
Very good. I'd like to make just one follow-up comment, because I've heard a little confusion out there in the public. This has nothing to do with any pending criminal investigation over this matter. What the county attorney just mentioned was strictly about an ethics complaint that this board filed against the former property appraiser. Any citizens on this? Well, actually, this was not an agenda item.
No action.
There's no vote.
Yeah, exactly. All right, anything further?
Nothing today.
Administrator.
Yes, I'd like to ask the commission for a workshop on December 13th at 3:30 to roll out the sewer master plan by Dewberry and Associates.
To approve the workshop.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was not a scheduled item, but if any citizens would like to speak, you're welcome to do so. Seeing none, discussion from the board. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes 5-0.
Also, Mr. Chairman, just a reminder to you and also to the public, the Guy Revel Nature Trail Park grand opening ceremony will be at 10 a.m. On November 9th on the Maplewood Drive entrance to the park. So please remember that. Also, Panacea Community Center will be the grand opening for that. Reopening for that will be November 19th at 10 o'clock. So please put that on your calendars as well.
Veterans Day thing.
Veterans Day is
Saturday.
November 6th. Please come. We're having a parade and all that good stuff. Also, that's it.
Very good. All right, we'll go back to citizens to be heard. Mr. Moore, you are welcome to come speak for 3 minutes. Please introduce yourself if you don't mind.
My name is Merle Moore. Some of y'all in here know me. My concern is in the Wakulla County, there's a lack of access to commercial vehicle parking. In the past, we've had some businesses in the area that's accommodated this until someone, private citizen, has made a complaint. Where we've been told nicely, we're no longer to park. I know it's not a county issue to provide it, but if it's something that the county could get with the Florida Department of Transportation, have them do a look at a study, build, a designated truck parking area, or someone in the county reach out to, this county is in desperate need of a truck stop. Many other counties across the state, they either have state designated truck parking areas, or they have truck stops to be able to accommodate the truck parking. And it's getting to be an issue. I've talked to my company, see if they had any local business partners in the area that they work with about, parking my truck somewhere in Leon County, which they don't. And the company I drive for, their nearest yard is a minimum of 3 hours away. And whenever I come home on the weekends from being out on the road 5.5 days a week, I come home, I spend my money in local restaurants and stuff. Wakulla County is where I grew up. That's where I want to live. Hopefully die here one day. And it's just getting to be an issue. I mean, more than anything, I would like to see private entrepreneurship, over anything that's any taxpayers funded related. But I'm also asking if the county has a vacant lot that's not being utilized. I think that could be a good, excellent first start for a short-term solution. Help some of us guys out, as far as parking.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
I know a lot of people drive trucks and they're getting by the skin of their teeth. I know there's a couple of people in Thornwood, and legally they're not supposed to be parking their trucks back there. Nobody says anything, but it is an issue.
It is. Yeah, Walmart and obviously Winn-Dixie were allowing them to do it, but now they've had some complaints. So I mean, I feel bad because I know for a fact of 9 truckers that live here that come home on the weekends like he does, and now they're not going to have a place to park. Some of them was able to park up there around 267, 319. That's fixing to change too with the construction. So
right away,
we need to. I don't have an answer for it, obviously, but it'd be nice if we could try to come up with something for them.
It's hard to find a piece of property that's not in a residential access area.
Let's see.
Huh?
On a major highway?
Yes. I was thinking about the piece of land Ben Boynton had, but you got to go through a neighborhood to get to that. The Historical Society plan?
That's the Historical Society plan, that's not county property, Commissioner Merritt.
School board owns that big chunk up there too, right? We'll look into it.
Any fellow citizens? None for citizens to be heard. All right, discussion items. Chuck, you want to start us off?
Not tonight.
Nothing?
Nothing from me.
Nothing for me.
I want to thank Quincy for my birthday gift. She got my birthday Saturday, summer.
Happy birthday.
Well, she got me a gift. I won't say anything.
I'll bring you.
Motion to adjourn. Stand adjourned. Thank you all.
Exactly.